And we are live. We are going to be talking. Guys, welcome to the Solution Podcast. We've got Dawood with us and Hassan. And today we're going to be talking about the current political climate. We're going to be touching on a lot of issues that's been going on politically. So how is everyone doing, guys? How you guys doing, man?
Good, man. I can't complain. Beautiful.
How about you, Hassan?
All good, all good.
And happy New Year's, man. Happy
Yeah.
New Year's.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you. Likewise.
2025, man. 2025. A lot's been going on politically. Um, some racism,
Yeah. Yeah.
quite a bit actually. So we've got a lot to touch on, UK wise, America wise. So yes, guys. What's been going on, man? Oh,
Yeah, man.
guys. We are live on YouTube and X as well. So, all right, guys. So, what's been going on? What's been going on, guys?
Yeah, man. I think we didn't do a recap last time of like 2024, but I think like, and I said this in the group chat, it really seems like a lot is happening. Like a lot of stuff is happening. Like the pace that it's happening at, you know. Um, and I feel like since the sneaker podcast, things have just accelerated, you know. And it's kind of interesting how everything is kind of connected from like the encounters that we have with sneaker and the race politics now to kind of come back on a much bigger scale. Because I feel like what was engaging in was something that we see now on a much bigger stage. The ideas, at least, that it shows you how prevalent they were. And now we have people like Elon Musk, dealing with forms of that. We have obviously October the 7th, kicking off a whole new era. And I think these things are kind of like a catalyst to really defining this decade. Because I've been thinking about this and I've been telling people to really make an effort to make this a decade of substance. And I'm trying to define definitions for what that means, but like to make this decade really worthwhile and make this decade, because two
What
years
do you
is still.
What do you think is changing? What do you think is changing that will kind of define the next 10 years? What do you think is happening? What's in the water? What do you think is happening that will? What kind of changes do you foresee in the future? And how do you think that's going to affect us?
Hassan, do you wanna take this?
Um, there's a lot to go through, I guess. There's a lot that comes to mind. Um, it seems like the Republican Party or the right in the US is pretty much owned and controlled. It's a lot more obvious than it used to be with the left, because the left you knew they were controlled by corporations, but now with Elon Musk, the right is the same situation, but they're being pushed aside. The far right that used to be a part of the Republican Party is being pushed far to the side. So I don't know how they're going to get a comeback. The Republican Party of the old that we used to see and the right of the old we used to see is not as strong as it used to be, which is interesting. But these recent events are with the whole H1B1 situation that's and somebody like Elon Musk who just speaks, who's such an influence, but isn't, how can I say, he's not filtered. So he just speaks and then tweets or whatever, and doesn't think too deeply about his base to a certain degree. So
What you don't think Elon Musk should have such an influence on President Trump?
I think Trump, I don't know, because I think Trump, he just doesn't care too much. He's just taking the position. He just as you can tell, he's not the guy in charge. He's bought and sold for to a certain degree. And I think how can I say, he's just there. I think he's just there for the seat. He's always been there just for the position, just to say I'm president. I was president. You know, I was very successful. Blah blah. It's just to add to his portfolio of achievements, I guess, for his own ego. But
So
Elon Musk,
what worries you about Elon Musk then?
nothing worries me about him. I actually like what he's doing. I like the fact that he's so easy to read, easy to agitate, easy to he's not as good a liar as most other.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's not as good a liar as most other politicians. He'll say in real time, "I'm surprised by this. Why are you guys so racist?" Da, 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 all this sort of weird behavior that's not political like.
But I think one thing that's so indicative, and I'm kind of trying to go after this. I'm kind of trying to see what I think where things are going overall. But it's very similar to what happened to Andrew Tate and Nick Fuentes and Sneeko. They keep and Myron, right? They keep playing with fire.
Myron.
They keep putting themselves adjacent to extreme right wing white supremacists in the hope, because they're sharing the same interest, that somehow fundamentally they agree on a lot of the things when they don't. That's the thing, like Plato said about democracy or group thinking, is that once the mob decides they want to do something, even if you were the leader of the mob, they will get rid of you. They will exert tyranny, you know? And the thing that Elon Musk, or people need to understand about Elon Musk, is that at heart, Elon Musk is a centrist, okay? He pivots into more right wing politics because liberals were flirting with like a lot of these woke ideas, okay? It became so much that people like Elon Musk couldn't identify with that any longer, so he moved further to the right. But at heart, he's a liberal. He's always been a liberal or a centrist, I should say. So that's why he has these views about the HB1 immigration is a good thing. He's an immigrant himself. He's a tech bro. We know already how tech bros are. Tech bros are very like deprived of philosophy, deprived of ethics. You know, for them it's just like problem solving. You know, they're like human AIs almost. And for him, he's now experiencing the beast of what it is to play with politics, and we tend to forget. And I think I saw on the news on CNN, they were basically uh, propping up some of the right wing MAGA spokespeople, like this lady called Laurel something.
Luma,
Forgot, huh?
Laura Luma.
Laura Luma, exactly. So this is why we need Hassan. This is why we need him.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
She got
100.
banned. She got banned. No, she got demonetized. She's complaining that her reach has gone down. Stephen Bannon, and this is the overall point I want to make, and I'll pass it on to you, Octavian. Stephen Bannon. Have we forgotten about Stephen Bannon? He's exactly what Elon Musk was back in 2016. Rich guy, entrepreneur, has loads of rich friends, allegedly a man of the people, okay, wants to unite the right across the globe, okay. The news keep talking about him. He's the right shadowy man behind Trump. You know, he comes to Europe, tries to unite the wingers, and realizes, oh, what the hell have I got myself to? His mission failed because Europeans, by nature, by history, are slightly different. So the right wingers weren't able to unite on policies and values and philosophies. So his thing failed. So he tried the exact same thing from top up top from top down approach. You know, kind of like um, pretending to be against Davos, pretending to be against the World Economic Forum, pretending to be against the elite, you know, within the Democrats, and some of the Republicans, and sort of making himself the man of the hour. And this is exactly the same formulaic approach that someone like Elon Musk is doing right now, not understanding the complexities that a movement like MAGA has. MAGA has movement. There's people who are ideological, not Laura Luma, ideological threat, cultural threat, immigration. But there's people who are just like, listen, I just want the cost of living crisis to go down. Trump seems very convincing. And this is sort of like a very silent majority of people who vote for Trump or Farage. But I was saying today on my Twitter, I was like, the moment like politics, the economy improves, this type of dog whistling politics will have a very hard time.
Um, I would look in terms of this H1B form. I think MAGA is more upset of the fact that what's his name Trump changed his tune. I
Mhm.
think that's really what they are upset. I mean, the reason why I think they chose Trump in they put Trump in office was to fight immigration. When I say the far right, we can't just classify everyone on the right as far right.
Yeah,
There are people that are on the right that are not far right or don't hold racist views. I think countries should control the level of immigrants coming into their country. I think that's their right. There's nothing wrong with that. But of course, I personally think that the reason why they put Trump in office was simply to control immigration, and he was against H1B visas. I think what's his name? My son played a video of him actually being against H1B visas
uh,
because he says that it takes work away from regular Americans, and now he changed his tune, and I think that's the issue. I think that's what people are more upset.
yeah,
They don't want a repeat. They don't want that, the politician that makes the promise and doesn't deliver. And Trump has kind of capitalized on this image that he's someone who delivers. When he gets into office, he delivers. That's what people. That's the image that people have of Trump. Me, of course, I don't buy right wing or left wing politics. I think it's the same BS. They hold to the same liberal values. And yes, you're right. Once the economy is sorted out, everything will pretty much, all the degeneracy will continue. So me as a Christian, I don't support none of them because I don't think I think the values the what's destroying in the West is has more to do than the how the economy is. But I think that's what MAGA has a point in the sense of Trump changed his tune, and he is listening. He seems to be listening to Elon Musk, and you're not going to trust someone who changes. You know what I mean? Like, unless I think what Trump should do is come out and clarify things. I think he needs to literally clarify things as to where he stands, what he meant when he turned around and said that he's against H1B forms, H1B visas. That's what he needs to clarify. This is the clarification that MAGA wants. And unless he does that, he's not going to look good in the eyes of the MAGA movement.
it seems like maybe he was advised to stay calm for now because obviously there's the transitional period which is going to happen on 6th of January at Capitol Hill. So maybe he's kind of like just waiting for that, for that great moment instead of like giving away. I mean, he had to come out and defend the policy. Um, but I mean, it's very similar to the situation in Syria. It's very similar to like the allegations that are being made about. And this is why I'm meaning like this is so we live in such a historic moment. Honestly, we really do. Like the allegations about like Giuliani's, having sort of like American or like Zionist backing. I mean, this is not hidden that Elon Musk uh, funded like heavily Trump's campaign and sort of helped him, to get to the finish line. And that's the reality of modern day politics. The very thing that Trump was accusing other people, the Democrats, of doing, that there are lobbies out there who are buying into policies, buying politicians. And maybe I don't know. I'm not too aware of. I mean, it's always Russian interference with the first term that Trump was running, but I don't think they were able to indict him or find anything worthwhile. Um, but this time it's quite pretty clear, and I think they've used it as a marketing ploy, in fact, to influence people. Because Elon Musk carefully had really um, carefully designed an image for himself years prior, before becoming this political beast, or a kitten, I should say, that he is today. Because all the podcasts and Joe Rogan, and just like articles upon articles, making him a genius. When the reality is it could be any closer to the truth.
Guys, let me ask you a question. Sorry, Dawood.
No.
What's wrong with H1B form? Would you say H1B visas? What's wrong with it? Is there anything essentially wrong with H1B visas? Sorry, guys.
You have to do
Both of you.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's necessary.
Do you feel the same way, though?
I don't think it's necessary, to be honest. I don't think it's necessary. I think it can never be necessary when there's like industry experts, industry CEOs trying to push for anything. I'm always very like suspicious whenever I see something like that.
Because the thing is, okay, what's wrong with recruiting? I don't know, normal American people, or instead of H1B visas. What's wrong with recruiting normal American people to do the job instead of flying them out from different countries?
There's nothing wrong with that.
So why not just do that?
Because you can't find them.
Well, people are going to disagree with that, aren't they?
The facts are the facts. People can disagree with water being wet, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. If you have 1 million jobs outstanding and only 60,000 graduates produced per year in the US for those particular positions, the numbers just don't stretch.
Then this should be something. This should be simple. Then Trump should just come out. Look, listen, man, there's 1 million vacancies. Only 60,000 of you guys are going for these jobs. That's the reason why we have to import talent from around the world.
He's never lied.
It's like, if I was the president, I would literally come out. Look, guys, here's the statistics. I don't know what you guys are getting mad at. H1B visas is it's good because of this, because there's 1 million vacancies. There's 60,000 of you guys going for it. Look, listen, that's the reason why we import. So why don't we? But Vivek decided to. I think he went to the root cause of it all. He basically.
He's wrong.
No, I don't think so. And I want to hear what Dawood has to say on this one, because he basically said, look, the type of culture that the West has does not produce the type of talent that we need. And
which is not true.
Which it is true, Hassan. It is true, Hassan.
I can give you the data.
Go on. Before you give us the data, let's hear what Dawood has to say. Go on.
Oh, yes, because you just said, though. You just said, why doesn't a president give the data? And then when you want to hear the data, it's like,
what data? Hold on. No, I just want to get Dawood's perspective on.
I'll be quick so you guys can sort this out. So basically, I saw an excerpt of an article where, like, the tech industry in 2024, they actually had to lay off about 100,000 people.
Oh yeah.
So like, either that's true or that's not true. Like, which one is true? Like, you're laying off people literally because there aren't as many jobs, or like there's a lot of the jobs that have become superfluous because of the AI that has been employed. And I personally fundamentally have nothing wrong with having qualified people to come to a country and contribute. I have nothing wrong with it. However, in terms of consistency, if your presidential run was I am against immigration, and
Yes.
then you turn around, then that's a problem. That's like you're not being consistent and you're not being authentic.
I'll be fair. There is exploitation in the H-1B visa
Okay.
to a certain degree. They will
Okay.
fire thousands of people and just outsource the jobs to
Yeah.
countries. And the higher positions that need to be in-house, they will ship them in. Well, not ship them, fly them in, as you say, and attach those visas to to diplomas. So, yeah, it is exploitative to a certain degree, yes, and it does take out a certain degree of workers of the local through wages. So they'll outsource. They'll fire 1,000 locals and then they'll hire 1,000 the same day abroad. So yeah, it is exploitative to a certain degree. Yes.
Okay. What was you gonna say, Hassan? You said you've got the data, and I'm against the data. What data?
Yeah, it's the concept of Vivek's tweet. Vivek's tweet is just him saying, screw you guys, I'm better than you, pretty much. His tweet is so condescending and he overreaches with his assumptions because the US beats a lot of the cultures that he's referring to as being, cultures that produce people that are more hardworking. In the US, than or not hardworking, higher achievers in the US than most of the world. So the argument that he even dodged a debate with Eric Weinstein. Eric Weinstein has been studying the H-1B visa for 35 years now or something like this, and he's had I'll try to find the tweet or whatever. So the argument that American workers, because of the culture of watching, I don't know, Saved by the Bell or Home and Away, I don't know what they're watching, is nonsense. It's him adding his own prejudice to his perspective, and he's dodging anybody who's serious on the topic.
So you're telling
also, yeah, sorry.
You're telling me that and that's the question I was asking you earlier as well. So you're telling me that American culture produces the type of talent. I'm not talking about being productive in other areas that are not as important. Are you telling me that American culture is producing the type of talent that we need?
Yeah. Oh, you asking Dawood or me? I don't know.
That would. What do you think of American culture?
I mean, bro, like even if you think about like just the university, one of the best universities for like in terms of technology is literally in America, MIT. Like MIT does produce like people like this. All the tech companies that we use are all of American stock. I do understand that a lot of the CEOs are of Indian heritage, but that was not always the case. There's like Silicon Valley has been quite diverse in that sense. And I think America does produce the talent for technological to employ. But like I think I saw a video, and this is the last thing I'm going to say because I have to time myself. Steve Bannon. I saw a video of Steve Bannon in 2016. So this is even before President Trump was the president, and he was criticizing that H1BA. He was criticizing H1B back then, and the reason why he's criticizing was he said it's a streamlined program that benefits especially technological sector to just employ younger people who are attached and indentured to the company. So it's just such a like. It's more than just talent.
It's to a certain degree, yeah.
I reckon the reason why I don't think it was me condescending at all, Vivek. I think I think the complaint, yes, the Silicon Valley has been produces talent and all of that type of stuff, but the complaint is it's not producing enough talent it's not getting its talent from America. That's the complaint. The complaint is that all this talent that it is producing, it's not coming from it. It's being outsourced from different countries and so on and so forth, and they're being brought here because American culture just does not produce the type of talent that it needs to stay at the top level. Because America, does have a standard. and that standard has to be met. And if it has to be outsourced, then it will be outsourced. And
Yeah.
what basically Vivek is saying is, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry that we getting all people from abroad. But when it comes to this field, when it comes to this, this field here, we just not producing, good stock. I'm sorry, the culture just does not produce enough mathematicians. Just does not allow, to produce those type of people. So, and I think that's the nature of the complaint. The nature of the complaint is not that. America has a certain standard, and that standard has to be met somehow, some way. And if means, giving H-1B visas, then that's what they'll do.
Yeah, but so
You're done, Hassan.
sorry, Hassan. I know. Sorry, did I interrupt?
You're lucky that would speak. You're lucky that was here.
Yeah. The criticism to what you just said, right? This is where this friction is happening. The criticism is, Vivek, you in dreamyland. We have no labor shortage. Okay, like Professor of Harvard, Ron Hira. I was just reading. Like, he's one of the guys who was saying that, look, we have enough to produce. Like, this is just like wishful thinking from these CEOs who have ulterior motives.
Yes.
And I think, again, if this was the Democrats, doing this, I think it would be fine. Okay, but like, you can't go on the presidential run, scream MAGA first, as the American first, and then you introduce this such a policy where you're saying you're not even saying, okay, we're just gonna regulate and we're gonna keep going on with the amount of immigrants that come in now. Not what you're doing is you're selectivizing it. You're saying it's a particular group of immigrants that we have to focus on, and we have to increase because the program so far was that it was made as much as you could make it fair for everyone to apply from across the globe. But now they want to, like, because of the lobbying, that those politicians who have Indian heritage, they want to start to lobby things of their own, things that, again, fit into their own interest and their own philosophies, that there should be way more Indians in America. I mean, that's what that was said by him, Vivek, and the other guy who's an advisor to Trump for AI.
Siram.
Yes, yeah.
Siram said there should be no cap. There should be no cap. Yeah, there should be no cap on green cards being issued or H-1B visa applications, because there's a cap now. There's a limit to how many people you can outsource. Also, he has another person. This is the guy who was one of the heads of Facebook. I forget his name. I know
the one that you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, great! You see, this is why we love Daoud. He's always on top of it. This guy, he said that there are about 150 people in the world who have complete influence, and he wants to be one of those 150 and change the world to his own image. And he is sat there speaking to Donald Trump and saying, we need more immigration, we need more we need more H-1 visas, we need all the talent in the world. And he's shaking his head, yes, good. Donald Trump is and always been Donald Trump. He's the guy that was selling steak knives. He was the guy that was doing Trump University before even Andrew Tate did it. He was a guy just putting his name on everything. He's the guy giving people gifts of fake diamond rings and whatever it is.
What are you saying, bro?
Donald Trump is a hustler. He just hustled the American community, the far right, and they're just realizing it now.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
He started off with, we want a complete Muslim ban. We want no immigration. We don't want H-1B visas. Now he's like, more H-1B visas. I love my Saudi friends. And immigration's good and whatever. He just hustled the far right, and he just tells them what they want to hear, and they're stupid enough to listen, to vote for him twice. The only person who hasn't listened is Nick Fuentes and the Gropers, they're being kicked out of Twitter, left, right, and center. So.
Is it possible? Hold on, guys. Is it possible that, for example, you can be against? I mean, okay, just hear me out here. I think what Trump is against is illegal immigration, right? Shouts to Aaron McKay. He says Trump is a con artist.
Yes, Aaron.
Okay, guys, is it possible that he is against illegal immigration, mass immigration, but he's not necessarily against he's not against H1B visas.
That's
Is
an
it,
important distinction. Yeah.
for example, I don't think that's being a con artist. I don't think that's being a hustler. If I'm against illegal immigration, mass immigration, but I do support bringing skilled work, especially if my country, my culture is not generating the type of what do you call it? These type of people, these skilled people,
The talent, yeah.
the talent that we need in these areas. Of course, I'm not. I don't think anyone, and like Dawood said earlier, no one's against bringing skilled workers over to. I mean, it will benefit your economy, it will benefit your country at the end of the day. And that's not the same as illegal immigration and mass immigration.
Yeah.
That's not even in the same ballpark. Like we don't know, so I don't think it's necessarily right to call him a con artist or a hustler just because, okay, fine, there is a video of him saying, and I think this is what the MAGA movement is upset about, is because there is a video of him saying that, yeah, H1B does take jobs, away from the people of the country, from citizens. I think that's what the MAGA movement is upset about. It's like you said this, we agreed with you, and now you're changing your tune. But I think it is possible to be, I don't think he's a hustler for being against mass immigration, illegal immigration, and being pro H1B visa. I don't think that makes him con artist.
Can I respond to that?
Why? I'm right already. Like, what's the point?
You're so wrong. You're completely unaware.
Here we go. Go ahead.
Okay, two things. If you're a con artist and a liar, why should I believe anything that you say?
If I'm a con artist and a liar?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, your point was, he may be a con artist for this, that, and the other, but
that wasn't my point.
It's okay. You said it's not fair to call him a con artist. He may have said one thing and then said the other a little bit later, but everybody in their right mind is against illegal immigration. So your argument being that if he says he's against illegal immigration, we should believe him.
I found an article from 2017, which I'm going to read in a minute.
Sorry, say that again?
I found an article from 2017, which I'm going to read in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say how I've interpreted what you said, Octavio. Although
that's not what I said. That's not what I said. I said I understand. I gave my I said I understand why the MAGA people are upset. I understand that because he did say that H1B form does take jobs away from from citizens, from American citizens. I understand how they feel about that, but I said it is possible for a person to be against illegal immigration, against mass immigration, and be pro H1B, and that does not make you into a hustler. That does not turn you into a con artist, because it is possible for you to, that there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think he's ever been against immigration. I think he's just been against illegal immigration. But yes, he did change his tune, and yes, I do understand why people are upset because he changed his tune. That's all it is.
I think he changed his tune based on his donors, but the point about he may be against immigration because he's very staunch. He's been very much against that for a while. It's not necessarily true. Legal immigration isn't necessarily a bad thing for America, and it hasn't been, and it's been argued for.
Sorry, illegal immigration hasn't always been bad for America.
Yeah, and it has been argued. So no, it's not necessarily a bad thing for America, and it has been argued against. The argument that illegal immigration is.
Shouts to Aaron McKay. He says Trump would be for illegal immigration if it benefited him in some way. Trump only cares about what benefits Trump. He cares for himself. all other people are simply means to an end. I love the passion. The thing
Yeah,
is,
that's Aaron. That's a good friend of mine, Aaron. Beautiful brother.
shout out to Aaron.
Mm.
Listen, I'm not. Listen. I don't have a horse here, and I'm not. I'm not pro Trump or anything like that.
Yeah,
But the thing is, I do. Oh, I can't believe Hassan just said what he said about illegal immigration can be argued that it can be good. That was wrong, Hassan. That was very wrong of you. You should have said that. Please take that back. Now, illegal immigration is always bad. I don't care what anyone says. Because you're breaking the law. It's illegal. You're not conforming to the rules, and that's always bad. But no, I believe that this Trump, the way Aaron kind of characterized Trump,
Mhm.
I could say that about a lot of politicians, bro. I'm sorry.
absolutely.
Could you say that about Trump though?
I could say that. I could say that about a lot of people. A lot of people. I can't argue with the fact that he changed his tune, and I can't argue that because he changed his tune, he's a politician, he's in the public eye. People are going to be very upset because they hold you to a higher standard because of who you are in the office that you hold. So I can understand why people are upset that someone like him would change his tune. Because I mean they voted him for a reason. You see,
Yeah,
so
the policies, pledges,
exactly.
policies. Yeah.
Go ahead, David. Yeah, go
Yeah, I
ahead.
found this very interesting article which I want to read, which is from 2017, and this is what I saw. I saw the clip of. I found the article. It
Do
was
you
a
want to share it?
conversation. Yeah, let me share it. How do I share it? Hassan, can I send it to you and you share it?
Yeah. What happened to me?
Okay. I saw this clip today, and it was a conversation between Stephen Bannon and Miller, and it was. Do you guys remember Breitbart?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was on a Breitbart radio station, and I think it's very interesting. It's very interesting. So Hassan, if you kind of like bring it up and kind of like read it together.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, I did WhatsApp it to you.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's good to like look at this like introspectively instead of like just kind of focusing on the last. Yeah, same. I mean, I agree with Aaron there. With Biden, it's just the same. Like probably even worse. To be honest.
Even worse. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Honestly, I'd rather have Trump
I
than
haven't got it
Biden.
for some reason.
Do you get it? Yeah.
No, for some reason, no.
Hold on. Oh, sorry. I sent it to my brother Gullet. Hold on. Hassan, where are you? I just posted it in the group chat. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
I got it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's a very good article.
Biden is even worse, man. Right.
Yeah, let me.
Biden's better. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just send it to you.
This guy, bro.
Yeah.
You can share the screen there, Octavia.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, okay.
I despise him. That's horrible.
Yeah. So Steve Bannon in 2016 legal immigration. Okay. Legal immigration is the real problem. Yeah, so if you kind of scroll down.
What?
Yeah, and then obviously it goes through it. Like I can't see it. It's very small. Hassan, can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. President
Okay,
Trump.
can you read it? Can you read it, please?
Okay.
Yeah.
Reading out loud is not my thing, but let me give it a shot.
No, because you don't. You're good at that. You did that last one. Okay.
He uses GP, he uses AI. He doesn't like reading.
I don't mind reading it. I just don't like reading out loud. President Trump's sweeping visa refugee ban is likely only the beginning. Already, he has signed a variation. What's that word? Variation of Muslim bans, and has suggested expanding it. He has pushed forward for southern border wall, regardless of Mexican refusal to pay for it, and he is reportedly considering moves to outlaw the United States legal work visa program, HB1 visa, that many technology companies rely on. Too many. It would appear that Trump would. Let me make it bigger.
Yeah. Then I can read some portions as well.
Yeah. So H1B visa, and that many technology companies rely on. Too many. It would appear that Trump is doing what he said he would. Behind But behind these policy reforms, two long-term immigration skeptics are making a name for themselves. Trump's chief strategy advisor, strategist, Steve Bannon, and White House policy advisor, Stephen Miller, who is a former staffer for Senator Jeff Sessions and yet another hardline immigration restrictionist. Sessions is waiting for his confirmation to vote for it.
Yeah.
Do you wanna read from this part?
So basically then it goes down. If you kind of scroll down a bit, because it says something about Trump was not like publicly he was actually fine with if you go down a bit further somewhere, well, it's an interview anyway. Trump, like, let me just go up because okay, just go up from where we left it off and I'll just read it from there. Can you make it a bit bigger then as well, please? Yeah, because my eyes are like poor. Yeah, that's good. So from there, yeah. So that's the one I was looking for. So before Bannon and Miller became White House colleagues and began drafting executive orders. However, Bannon was a Breitbart News executive asking Miller, a policy advisor on Trump's campaign for Trump's position on illegal immigration. Trump's public stance has seemingly always been to keep bad people out of and let smart people in. That's what Octavia was saying. But a conversation between Bannon and Miller from March 2016 on Sirius XM, Breitbart News Daily First, resurfaced by Washington Post, shows Bannon and Miller may both hold a more conservative view on migration. Isn't the beating heart of this problem the real beating of heart of it, of what we got to sort out here? Not illegal immigration, Bannon asked Miller. As horrific as that is, and it's horrific, don't we have a problem? We've looked at the other way around at legal immigration that's kind of overwhelmed the country. And I think that's the very main aspect that we don't want to read. And he says, and then Bannon goes to decry the oligarchs of Silicon Valley and Washington and call a number of immigration to the United States as scary. Miller's response is in affirmation. The risk of America is that immigration is on a period in and followed by immigration off period. So like these guys are like historicizing this. They're saying, well, yes, it's true that immigration and like America is a country that has benefited of immigration, but there's periods which is true, where like immigration kind of shuts down, and like that's where all these policies come in, where like a lot of the people from the Middle East couldn't come, a lot of like the yellow flight, where like a lot of the Chinese weren't allowed to come and stuff. So like, America has this history of like flaring up, but at the heart of this, it is immigrant because someone like Stephen Bannon and Miller, they are ideologues. So for them, it's ideologically. They don't think about the economy per se. They're more thinking about from an ideological point of view, which is we ought to have a solely what's it called? What's that word they use when you're like solely focusing on your own like in
homogenous?
No, when you're like you're not like you don't do like foreign policies anymore. You kind of like retreat back to your own. Yeah. So that's what they are, right? They're solely just sort of like entrenched, and Trump has taken away from that as well. And that's what he means by we need to bring back jobs. We need to create jobs here for the people. We need to bring back jobs. We need to bring back industry. We need to attract investment and things like that. So I see what you're saying, Octavia, because obviously you have to play the devil's advocate here. I do see that it's possible to change your opinion, but I think if your main reasons that people are voting you for is the very thing that you then change, even before the immigration, you haven't even like sworn it into office. Like it tells you maybe Trump is maybe under acute pressure.
You reckon?
He might be under I think he's really under acute pressure for him to have. He hasn't clarified, like you said. It would have been good for him to clarify what he meant by it. He didn't do that, but he had to come out and defend the policy. And a lot of people don't understand. those policies are extremely complicated. If you wanted to reform them, it's like it's very complicated. It's not something that you just do overnight. Like it would take a lot of resources and time to do that.
But
Uh,
I think Trump I mean Trump owes that to his voters, to the people that voted him. I don't care if people consider them far right or whatever you want to call them.
yeah,
Just because of this image that he managed to build for himself, that is
correct.
someone who delivers, is authentic, is against I don't know, he's against corruption, he's against all of these things. That's the image that he portrays. So he needs to live up to that image. Unless he no
Correct.
longer cares about that, he's
Correct.
now in office, which in a sense it wouldn't be too different from any other politicians, because most politicians do that. They'll
Yeah.
promise the people whatever they want to promise. So it's not when you look at the
True.
bigger picture, it's not being that different from any other politician. You know
That's
what I mean? But
correct.
I just think, I mean, I'm me even saying what I'm saying in a sense is just trying to help Trump.
Yeah.
If you want to stick to that image, if you want that image, that image to live on in people's minds, then the best thing to do is to get in front of the situation. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
basically turn around and explain, like, listen, yes, I did say that, but here's the reality. Things have changed because of this, because of that,
Yeah.
and in order, because his whole thing is America first.
Yeah.
America first. America first. So why can't America come first when it comes to Silicon Valley, when it
Yeah.
comes to all these tech
Correct.
jobs? Why can't
Correct.
America come first? This is why I was so impressed by what Vivek said, because I was just like, yeah, that's the heart of it. I was just like, that's it.
Yeah.
Look at the culture. Look at what kids
Yeah.
aspire to these days. They want to
Yeah.
be social
Yeah.
justice warriors for the left. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got concepts like a woman can be a man and a man can be a woman being taught to children. And how are you going to produce the mathematicians, the tech guys and all of that type of stuff with the type of culture
I
that you have?
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
think you're so right, but I actually also read somewhere that like actually a lot of these Indians who do come,
Mm.
these Indians who do come to like to the tech industry tend to be liberals, a lot of them, because again they come from a very particular class in India, which tend to be a bit more liberal. Um, so they wouldn't be like, I mean, if you're talking about that, right, it wouldn't really be a net benefit other than maybe job creation and like just innovation. But like, um, yeah, I think I agree with you. I also agree with what Hassan is saying. Like always, because you guys are just so convincing. You just tear me apart sometimes. But like, um, the question is, I think, and this goes back to the first question you asked me, right, which is very very compelling. Okay, where do you think all of this is going? I think a week prior to that, I think we never had a live stream, or maybe Octavia, maybe you had a live stream on the Christmas attacks, the attacks. No, we did have a live stream about that, right? The attacks in Germany.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh no, we didn't talk about it. Well,
Yeah.
I think this literally links to that because Elon Musk a week prior was the strong man. He was on Twitter gunning for Islam, giving credence and power and pledges to Nigel Farage, and I'm gonna give 100 million here, and after this, that will save Germany and blah 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 blah, and
Yeah.
doing all these
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Putinist Kremlin moves. And like, and now I think he just because of like this full sense of like confidence that he was gaining from these, because he was just kind of talking points and talking to people's deepest like um sometimes justified fears. I mean, if someone really has fears about Muslims because the media, and also because there is um not a correlation with what actually happens in the actual world. I mean, if I was a victim, my dad went to the Christmas market and it corresponds with what the media is saying, then of course I'm going to have that view about Muslims,
Mhm.
right? So these people are not speaking. This is another thing that Muslims need to understand. These people are not just making up stuff. There is some truth to it. This is why it sticks so well. This is why people feel so strongly about this, because there is some truth to what the criticism is about. But yeah, Elon Musk was doing that. He was speaking to people. He was, you know, it's always the same people. Islam is a problem. Blah blah blah. Immigration,
What was he? What
immigration.
was he saying? What was Elon Musk saying? Specific because sorry, I didn't see it. I heard
Yeah,
about the attack in
yeah,
Germany. But I didn't see Elon's tweets about it because Elon is in a very privileged and powerful position at
yeah,
the moment. You know, Trump's advisor.
yeah,
Uh, that is a very powerful position to be in, especially when Trump is in charge of the most powerful weapon in the world,
yeah,
America.
yeah.
So I didn't see his tweets. I didn't even think
Okay,
it
I
would have
think he
hit
got
his
two or
radar.
three tweets that they're like you can verify. One tweet was about his so in response to what was happening, because of the attacks, he was like, well, the only way you can save Europe is by um voting for particular parties. Vote for this party. He mentioned AfD, which is like a right wing political oppositional party, which is gaining a lot of like votes, and they're gaining a lot of points in the polls. And then he's also was talking about Nigel Farage, how Nigel Farage and the Reform Party would be saving uh, Europe from these attacks and these things that we are experiencing. And he also talked specifically about immigration. He mentioned snarky remarks about how immigration has to be controlled and which is so ironic. So he's very selective when he talks about immigration, right? So there he's talking about immigration, how immigration is a bad thing and it needs to be stopped from particular regions and such thing. But I think I can try and look for tweets and then maybe send it into the group chat and then
Mm-mm.
maybe Hassan may know.
I reckon immigration. I think what he's talking about is he's happy with selective immigration,
Yeah,
meaning you are a skilled worker. I
yeah,
can use you. Yes, I don't care where you're from. I don't care what your background is. If you are that good, I will. I will use you. I think what he's against is well, first of all, illegal immigration and mass immigration or non-controlled immigration. I think
yeah.
non-controlled is the right word to use. I think that is it. But you guys are kind of letting me know what's going on with this story. But shouts to Aaron McKay. He says new attack in New Orleans. Killer had ISIS flag. Time to shut the border. Blame immigrants. Blame Muslims. Only way to stop it is to send 50 billion to Israel to stop terrorism. Let me
Yeah, so
ask.
like
Hold
this
on.
is the
Hold on. Are you guys okay? Because guys, you have to forgive me. I'm new to the story. Was this what happened in Berlin or Germany, and
yeah,
now what's happening
it was
in
in
New Orleans?
Magdeburg.
Is
It
these
was
Muslim
Magdeburg.
attacks?
Yeah, it was in Magdeburg, and it was not by a Muslim, by the way. It was not by a Muslim.
It wasn't by a Muslim.
No, it
Okay,
wasn't. Which
so
complicated the entire thing. Okay, this is now I remember what Elon Musk was talking about, and Hassan knows about this as well. So what Elon Musk started doing is when this story broke that the guy who committed the attack and the heinous attack on innocent people, it came out that he was not Muslim. So when he was not Muslim, Elon Musk started questioning. He was like, "Well, I am questioning the narrative that the media's given us."
Yes.
That's what was happening, and that was just galvanizing everything. And then when he started doing that, he then started saying all the political stuff and posting pictures with him and Nigel
why
Farage.
did why did he assume that it was a Muslim?
Everybody did. A lot of people did.
I mean, I know that's pretty much the go-to, but the thing is, everyone also is everyone kind of also learned a little bit of what happened here in England when that person, when everyone assumed that the person that attacked those three girls was a
Well,
Muslim.
clearly
Mm.
they didn't learn because guess what? And you take him out again, like just with a milder version of the same stuff that he said the first time. They
How is
haven't
it?
learned. Like he came out saying some ridiculous stuff as well.
And what's going on with New Orleans?
Oh, let me check
Uh,
this. Is
Aaron
this
McKay
breaking
is
news?
saying that it's apparently it was a Muslim attack.
Oh my days. Oh yeah, but yeah. So like like Octavius, it was crazy. Like every single like politician, like far, like when I say far right, I don't mean that everyone's far right. I usually mean just right wing. Okay, like
Yeah,
politicians.
that's why people talk about far right these days. Sorry, the right
Yeah,
these
yeah, yeah.
days.
So, but you're right. I have to be more clear. You're right. Um, Hassan, are you checking on New Orleans?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was,
Okay.
I was.
Yeah. So just quickly. So what happened was all the politicians came out. Geert Wilders from like Holland. He came out and he was a bit more like direct with it. He was like, "Well, we have to stop we have to stop this barbaric like cult and whatnot." Um, and the case was the guy who committed the attack was a Saudi citizen who left Saudi Arabia in 2006 because he apostated from Islam. And he's been an activist ever since, trying to help people in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, to get people who want to leave Islam and give them visas to live in Germany. He became a German citizen, and over the last few years, he became very bitter about like the German government and how they were handling immigration. And he was a big fan of like Elon Musk. He was a big fan, and this is when he switched. That's why Elon Musk felt attacked, because people start finding tweets where he was praising Elon Musk, he was praising Tommy Robinson, he's praising all these individuals, right? And then what happened is this is scary, and this is one of the things that people are accusing Elon Musk right now. What he's doing, because he said he bought X, or he bought Twitter, to make sure that freedom of speech is maintained, aka the First Amendment. That's what the reasons why, yeah, he campaigned to buy it, and then he decided he didn't want to buy it, but then he had to illegally, right? Um, so people are saying that he's been tyrannical on his platform, because what happened is the attacker, right? There was like a digital footprint of everything he said. Okay, clearly a Zionist, right? Clearly like anti-immigration, anti-Islamic, Islamophobic. He was
Pro
against the
Elon.
Ger- he was
He
against
was
the
pro.
German government.
He was
What
pro
happened
Elon.
is Elon Musk, they they block his account so no one could see what was on there, and then all the tweets were gone. All the tweets were gone. Yeah, all the tweets from Elon Musk. It's
But then
crazy.
he reactivated the account.
Yeah,
He took off everything that was pro Elon and
yes,
pro Gert Wilders, the Dutch politician,
correct.
which gives you an indication of what Elon Musk is planning: a far right sweep across the Western world,
So
which is interesting.
so basically, it was this guy was an ex-Muslim, became a far right,
Yeah,
and but I'm trying to okay. So his reason for attacking a Christmas market
Yeah,
was why? This is the part that
because
doesn't. Okay,
he was
I'm, I'm
he was
unhappy. I'm unhappy about some immigration policy, but why am I going to attack some Christmas market?
it was an attack on Germany. He wanted to attack German people, the
yeah.
But
German
Germany is a
government also.
secular country. They don't care about Jesus.
No,
No, but
nothing to do with
he
Jesus.
wanted to make a point, and also, yeah, because I've seen
Oh,
it.
okay.
This is one of the first things that people like Elon Musk was saying. Like not him particularly, but there was like this lady, some Iranian lady, who came out and was like, "Oh, he's doing taqiyya. He's really a Muslim." Blah 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 blah. This guy was well documented. This is like a place where you couldn't lie, because there was like documentaries of him, like BBC. Mysteriously, again, I don't know how BBC was involved, but like documentaries of him like years ago, decades ago. He was in German since 2006. Okay, if you think about politically, yeah, what has happened since 2006, it wouldn't make sense for someone like him to exist, right? He must have like changed, because like politics in 2006 was totally different to what is today. He's like a product of something else, right? People were saying, "Oh, it doesn't make sense. Why would he? Why would he not just go attack Muslims?" Well, if we all seen what happened with the attacks in Newport, and we saw the result of it, then it wouldn't be far fetched if somebody be like, "Whoa, let me go attack more civilians so that these damn Europeans wake up. Since the last time, it seems like when you kill children or girls, that they go crazy. Because he had a very like accelerist like mentality, like we have to overtopple the government because the government's not doing what they're supposed to do. People need to wake up. Germans are so stupid, they're not waking up. Like just watch and wait what's going to happen. So that's his angle. That was his angle. And luckily we were able to see all the tweets before they were deleted.
Yeah.
Well, if he wasn't a Muslim, you can't put that on him.
Clearly
Regardless,
over decades, there's like 20 years of documentation that he was not a Muslim.
20 years, yeah, then you can't put that on him. If he wasn't a Muslim. So, I mean, I can understand why. I can understand why people go. The feeling is like this, and they can look at, oh, he was an ex-Muslim, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, the facts are the facts. If he wasn't a Muslim, he wasn't a Muslim. End of.
Yeah, so the conversation wasn't about him being Muslim, it was about immigration. There's a, regardless whether he's Muslim or not, he comes from a particular area that explains everything. That's what they were saying.
Which is interesting because I think I remember reading an article roughly the same time, or some sort of news information saying that the bishops in Germany or some parts of Europe were reporting that since the immigration visa in, I think, Germany, said that if you leave Islam and you're afraid of going back to being deported back to a Muslim country, and you're an ex-Muslim, you can seek asylum that way.
Correct.
And the bishops were reporting a lot of Iranians converted to Christianity after those policies came out. So it's interesting to see how the ex-Muslim community is now under the spotlight after and being on social media by the far right, being accused of being fake ex-Muslims, and they're just Muslims pretending to be Christians and pretending
also
to be
like any
atheists.
I mean, one thing that we've learned over the years, right, Octavia, I mean, you'd agree with that, is that people who commit these crimes make sure that you know why they did them. So that would be very strange for us to like have someone who's like obscuring things now. Like you'd be very open about, there was this video that was going viral where he was like being apprehended by the police, and he was saying, because I speak German, right? He was saying, alles klar, meaning people, the police were saying, on the floor, and he said, okay, alles klar. But like the far right, like people, amongst the far right, were saying that he was screaming Allahu Akbar. Like, what a lie, bro. Like, it's like wishful thinking on steroids, literally. They really just wanted to make him a Muslim. Like,
which is interesting, though, because there were converts, Muslims from Europe, who were tweeting in response to that, saying, no, he's speaking German. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, so he was saying alles klar, yeah.
It's an interesting turn how things have developed over the decades now, that Islam is much harder to misrepresent Muslims.
Yeah.
And these past events and Andrew Tate's failure to a certain degree is exposing how it's hard to mischaracterize Muslims now, because there are European Muslims, there are Muslims.
It's just so complicated altogether, because like it's also not just about Islam, or it's about religion and values, right? What we're seeing here now is that the Europeans have woken up and they're like, oh my days, what have we done to our Christianity? Like, we don't have anything left. I think we need this back. So you see a revival that has taken place, but the revival that has taken place has a lot of charlatans within them who are using religion or the appeal of being religious now to like galvanize people. I think Bob from the park, he is like a politician's par excellence, and I've experienced him like personally. He is not a good guy. Honestly, he really is not a good guy. Like, he doesn't want goodness, like he has a lot of hatred in his heart. I've seen how he interacts with people, and I've been warning the Muslims in the past for the longest. I said, stop mocking this guy, stop antagonizing him, because what you're doing is you're fueling things within his heart, and you're thinking you're doing good because you're defending Islam. Not you're defending your own ego whilst doing this. It's to do with you and how you feel about him, more so than And then look what's been happening, because this guy has been drumming up warlike and making up stuff sometimes. I'll be there in the park, I'll see that, bro, it wasn't that deep. Why are you on camera saying like it's a war taking place? What's wrong with you? You know?
I personally love Bob. I think, but
Okay.
what Bob is calling for, Bob is, I think Bob is one thing and I had a lot of respect when he did this, because what he did was he said, if you are far right trying to, pretend to be a Christian in order to hate Muslims, or in order to attack Muslims, then I'm not part of your movement. I'm not that. And there was one other guy that I saw him talking, and some white guy who was basically saying, look, listen, I don't really care much for Christianity, but if it means me joining Christianity to go to war with Muslims, and then Bob just says, you need to go, mate, you need to go. I don't want to talk to you, because you cannot be a Christian and hate Muslims. We might not agree with the ideology, we might not agree with what Islam teaches, but as a Christian, to hate a Muslim, that goes against. So if you're far right and you think that you're going to even fool a Christian to make him believe, yes, I'm a Christian, so that we can go and attack, first of all, that's not, even when it comes to attacking, even Christians are only allowed to kill or allowed to when they're defending themselves. That's it. If we are under attack, yes, we are allowed to defend ourselves. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. I agree with that,
because that is the loving thing to do. You don't let someone be murdered and all of that type of stuff unjustly, because we stand for justice. Now that's the only time. Now, being on the offensive, meaning going out and randomly attack Muslims, I've never heard Bob calling out for that. I've never heard Bob, and I would be against Bob if Bob even called for that. Now, highlighting the dangers of secularism and what they call jihadists, or guys that have a radical view of Islam, or Islamist, I think they call them. I mean, that I'm okay with that, but trying to, in a sense, like, allow far rights in order to carry out some kind of judgment or some kind of war against Muslims. I haven't seen that. I mean, that.
Literally, Bob was criticized by other Christians that he was sharing the same platform as Tommy Robinson, and he did it gladly. Like, why would you do that? You know that Tommy Robinson has a very bad reputation with the general public in the UK as it is.
He's an Islamophobe, racist.
Yeah, why would you then go on the stage and then preach Christianity and like to like all these people? Like, that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, Bob, I've seen him off camera. He's a very, very calculated person. He's a very, very calculated person, a very intelligent person, I must say as well. The way he controls the crowd and certain things that he wants of people, the way he goes and pushes someone to say certain things that he wants, and then he turns around. Look, I've been telling you. Because this is another thing. There's this Irish fella, an Irish Christian guy. He said to him, Bob, you know what I've noticed about you? You say you care so much about this country, right? And you love this country so much. But how is it the only time you criticize is Islamic people? You never criticize the other people. I don't want to mention. We all know who I'm talking about. You never criticize those people who actually have power in politics. You influence the politicians in this country to sometimes go against the wishes of the people.
I feel like the Solution Podcast is a bit similar.
Those people. Yes. Those people. Yes. Don't worry. Hassan gave me some fake info. That's why the reaction is a bit delayed. He tried to claim that apparently, because I've always been very critical of those people when it comes to the persecution of Christians in their country. Apparently, they're very anti-Christian. But anyways, Hassan tried to he tried to say that apparently they're changing the law, and Christians are no longer.
I didn't
no
say
longer
anything.
allowed. Freedom.
I might have
freedom,
showed an article to you or two, but I
Yeah.
didn't inspire or encourage any of these videos or topics.
No,
And when
I
I,
think
when
that's
I fact checked it, no, they're not changing the law. I was
okay.
just like, because the thing is, I've been meaning to basically lash out a lot on them for the persecution of thingy. Bob, yeah, that's one thing I would agree with you that I would also be critical of Bob in. He should be more vocal. I don't know why he isn't. I think look, I don't want to, read the man's mind, but I think it's because he thinks that it's not as severe as maybe it is with Islam, and that's the reason why is on Islam's case more. But I do agree with you that he should be more vocal. I've heard him, I think, only once criticizing those people. But I think he should be more vocal about that.
But
I think
is
it's the right thing.
there seems to be a pattern because I saw Bob as well. He was trying to like get attention of Elon Musk like on IG. He's like, oh yeah, hey, we are Christian mission needs some money as well. Like, what's it called? There's a pattern. I mean, Aaron mentioned this early on as well, right? Aaron mentioned this one as well that Elon Musk has been criticized, or people have been saying that he is like a shield from like a Tel Avivian shield, right? Like he's like, yeah, he's working with Bibi, like he's working for Bibi, right? Like that's one of the things people are saying about him as well, and it's true because it's always like there's a radio silence when it comes to that. Like, it's like almost just don't mention it. Same thing with like Giuliani on the Syrian government, like well we don't really want to talk about this.
I don't think that's true, Daoud.
What?
He did criticize those people once on Twitter.
Like when was that?
Then he had to take a trip to Israel.
Reprogramming.
Yeah. He literally somebody made a tweet saying the Jewish community was always criticizing the white people, and it's always the white people, they promote white hate. And he said this is very true. And then he was, I think 2 weeks later in Tel Aviv, in Israel, looking at the October 7th aftermath, and then he wore a necklace saying, "Until the hostages are free, I'm gonna wear this."
He said that. I've heard him say, I actually have Jewish ancestry. He said this now as well.
And then he said, Jews, there are only 14 million of the population, and Muslims are 1.5. So they've got a lot of hatred towards them. So he's suggesting Muslims are targeting Jews and Jews alone, which is.
And that 14 million has also been contested. I saw like papers on it. Apparently, the actual number is more to 100 million.
That's right.
If you count into diaspora and stuff, yeah, apparently.
But he's really good. Sorry, can I say this? Me and Octavio and JM have done bits and pieces on. We've had discussions on the red pill and the incel community.
Yeah,
he's got the hallmarks, and he's checking all the marks for the red pill mindset, where he's very far right. He's very ethno-nationalist. He's very not really had great relationships with women to a certain degree. Very awkward around women and people generally. So is he the world's largest and richest incel? Maybe, I don't know.
So who exactly are we talking about specifically? Sorry, guys. Elon.
Yeah.
I think all these people are lost in the sense that it depends on, look, everything comes down to your values. Everything comes down to and whether your values is rooted in an objective reality like God. So for example, liberalism has failed and continues to fail. So if he thinks he's going to get some kind of, I don't know what vision he has for Europe, but he's not going to be able to fight the threat or fight whatever is destroying Europe without Christianity. And you can't, and with Christianity, you can't fake it.
Mhm.
You have to live it out.
Yeah.
So if he's trying to combat the degeneracy, because there's a reason why Europe is where it is right now, and it's because they abandoned Christianity. And the quicker we kind of regain the Christian values again through believing through actual real belief. Belief is what anchors you in, not fake belief, not not these far right guys who think we're losing Europe, so let's try and cling to Christianity. You're
Yeah.
not gonna no. You're
Yeah.
still a dick. You still want, Okay, put it this way: for anything to work, abortion would have to be illegal tomorrow. Okay, it's like why are we voting for? And this is what I'm going to be pushing in my channel. Why are you voting for the right wing or the left wing when you can just vote for a Christian party and whatever the general? See, this is why I say these people are not serious,
Yeah.
because if they were serious, if they really were coming back to Christianity and they really wanted a political, because a Christian political party wouldn't, for example, attack Muslims. This hatred,
Yeah.
that these far rights have I would say it's it's not in Christianity you wouldn't be allowed to have this hatred towards another group of people. Yes, of course. If imagine, look, just to give you guys like an overview, right, of what I'm saying here. Imagine if this country was fully Christian, we had a Christian government, everything was Christian. Okay, would we stop Muslims from coming in? No. Now, why wouldn't we do that? We wouldn't do that because the majority of the country practice Christianity, which means Muslims coming in, of course, we'll control the rate of Muslims coming in, but Muslims coming in are more likely, since the majority is practicing Christianity, we would evangelize to these Muslims.
Yeah.
They are more, we would try and convert these Muslims.
Yeah.
The reason why other ideologies can gain ground is because liberalism stands for nothing.
Yeah.
Liberalism leads to self-destruction and it creates a void. It leads to nihilism. So liberalism leads to nihilism. It creates a void. People look to Islam. They look to religions that offer some kind of structure. But for some reason, they have not been looking back to Christianity, because guess what? Christianity is historically is the religion that they've rejected. So this is why they're finding it so hard to go back to it. In a sense, it's like it's their pride, isn't it? It's like, I gave it up. I don't want to go back because I want to feel that I'm right for giving it up. So let me look to Islam. Let me look to Buddhism. Let me look to any other religion. Okay, but if the country was fully Christian, 90% Christian, of course we would want Muslims to come in, because we would try to evangelize and convert them. That's how it would work.
I think what Bob said was quite interesting. He said, because he was asked the same question, he said, because they're asking how are you envisioning all of this, how are you envisioning a Christian country, and what does that mean for the Muslims who are already here or for the Muslims who are coming here? And he said, well, we would have a vetting process and would see that the Muslims who do come here are for the country and are in line with the values that the country kind of represents, So he was more like talking from a state perspective, saying that legally speaking, he would want Muslims could be here, but as long as they don't go against our values. And this is one of the things that Bob does do really wow. And I'm not complimenting him, I'm just saying he's quite good at doing that, which is he drives two tracks. He drives the track of nationalism, right? So he speaks to the nationalist because he knows he needs to say this stuff to get their attention. And then he brings Christian values and Christian ideology in there. But I'm saying it's very dangerous. I see Joseph, the Jewish guy from Speaker's Corner, the ginger guy. I warned him. I was like, Joseph, you're playing a very dangerous game. No, but I love this country. I was like, I'm not telling you not to love this country, but I know what you're doing. And he looked at me and he knew what I was saying. I was like, the same people that you're appealing to are the same people who will turn around and say like, oh, so that we're done with the Negroes and the Muslims and blah blah blah. Now it's your turn. That's just how it goes. And he looked at me and was like, "Ah, you see, be careful, be careful." So like, I feel like, yeah, it's and this might be a bit controversial. And I've made this post on my Facebook, and I
Say
got
it, bro. Say it.
a
Say it.
lot of backlash. But I said, you know, the idea of like separation of church and state, right?
It was a
It is
big
something that,
mistake. It was a big
yeah.
mistake.
Well, I think there's a big misunderstanding what it actually means, because I've really digged into it very deeply.
Before
First
before
of
you
all,
finish, before you
yeah,
finish, I agree with you.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
Hassan,
yeah.
typical. Yeah,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
it's going to be quite surprising what I'm going to say. Um, First of all, a lot of the Muslims don't understand that actually is a reality in Islam as well.
Oh
Um,
yes. Oh yes.
and, and, and that has happened throughout Islamic history. Because the definition isn't as clear cut, right? There's different types of definitions. But like what people think when they hear separation of church and state is that the state's affairs are regulated under secular rule, and the church has no influence whatsoever on the state. And contrary, actually, the origins of this philosophy is that the church protects itself against the state's interference on how the church runs. Right? It's the idea that this church is funded by the state, but yet remains independent. Okay, it's the idea that previously in the medieval period there were different pillars of power that existed to keep itself in line, meaning the kings needed the validation and the legitimacy of church
Yep.
to rule, divine rule. Okay, the divine rule, like rule, the rule of God to judge, was ordained by the Pope. Okay,
Yes.
so
Yes.
so the church separation of church here, meaning there are two pillars of power structures who are holding each other accountable. And at times there was historical moments where one power became a bit more stronger than the other. So, for example, Charles V says, "Look, I want to get married again. I'll do this. The church can't say nothing to me." Sometimes popes, we have, unfortunately, in history, we have popes that were corrupt, right? And they
Yes.
use their powers to influence. And this is where this idea was like, well, you are two different power structures. You shouldn't really interfere too much. Like, exist and have, because there's a spectrum to this as well. Now, when I said this about Islam, I said, well, this happens with Islam as well, because you have the pillar of ulema, the scholars, the ulema, who at times are very keen and very cooperative with the governments. And sometimes they're not, because it's based upon a tradition where the Prophet Muhammad SAW says to be wary of the courtyard. And he's here giving advice to the scholars to be wary about the courtyards, right? Do not be familiar, don't familiarize yourself too tough with the government. Don't be in cohorts with the government. Because what happens is that the government is starting to use religion to legitimize other things, and this happens in Islamic history. So this is what it means. This is the separation between church and state is a commentary on the relationship that exists in different degrees. That's what it means.
What do you think happened to Europe? Why do you think? Why do you think? Because church and state was there. Why do you
Yeah,
think separation?
yeah,
Why
yeah,
has the state?
yeah,
Because from what I've
yeah,
studied and research, I've noticed that basically the kings and queens of Europe basically were tired of the rule,
yeah,
or of the Pope having so much influence over them,
mm,
that they wanted to separate from the grip of the Catholic Church
yeah,
on them. And I think that's partly the reason why they supported the Reformation.
yeah,
The Reformation gave them more freedoms
yes,
for them to do what they wanted to do, which eventually it led to it led to the what's that called, the Enlightenment, the period
Yeah.
of Enlightenment.
Right.
And then the period of Enlightenment, we've seen that the period of like completely decided to
Yeah.
not even include the church on anything. It's like we know what's right and wrong. We're going to use our reason to decide what is right and wrong. We
Yeah.
don't need the church. We're going to use empiricism in
Yeah.
order to determine what is right and what is wrong, right?
Yeah,
Um,
the strongest form of secularism that you have in the world, in Europe. Let me just stick to Europe. Is in France.
yes.
Like France, they have a very specific branch of like um what's it called? Yeah, a branch of like secularism, which is called l'air. It's called, right, which is the idea of like almost total. But even in France, which is so ironic, if you look into this, even in France, there isn't a entirely split clean separation between state and church. They still are very in accord with certain laws, and they actually fund the Catholic Church. You know, France has a very old Catholic tradition that a lot of people don't know about, but like, you know, France has been Catholic for a very long time. Um, but like, I think what happened in Europe is what you said. It was a precursor, but what really breaks off. Um, because even if you think about, there were certain
I don't.
laws.
Sorry, though. I don't
Yeah,
think. I don't think. I think secularization, or the birth of secularization through the Enlightenment period, after the Enlightenment period, I think it's anti-Christian. I think it's it's anti-Catholic, anti-Christian. And I mean, you know it because of the laws that they pass. You know,
yeah,
because of even I think the theory of evolution is anti-Christian.
yeah,
It was to destroy the biblical narrative that God created the world. Created Adam and Eve. I think all the ideologies that came out of the period of enlightenment, it was all it was all in opposition to Christianity and what Christianity teaches, and
Mm.
it has been seeking to destroy. And this is why we have liberalism today. This is why I think people like Bob are trying to say, look, liberalism doesn't work. You guys tried it; it doesn't work. As you can see, it leads to nothing. The only way you can get Europe back is through Christianity again, because these, it has the values and it's anchored in the belief in God. So, but the thing is, it's been anti-Christian. The whole what came out of secularization, because I don't think when we see that certain governments still pay for churches because of the separation of church and state. They still support certain churches and so on and so forth. I don't think that even matters anymore, because I mean, they've got laws like abortion. They've got laws that are completely anti-Christian, goes against every Christian value.
But you know, all of these laws, a lot of these laws came in like the last 30 years, and that's the point I wanted to make.
Since 1960s, since 1960,
Yeah.
they all came at 90s during the 1960s. Actually, something happened in the world during the 1960s.
Yeah. So I was about to say,
Something.
even homosexual, like, like same-sex marriage, this happens under the Tories, like less than 30 years ago, like 20 years ago, like 50
Yeah,
years ago.
1960s. Yeah, 1960s. Yeah.
No, I mean same-sex marriages.
Yeah, same sex, but
Recently, this happened recently.
that was in 2000, I think. That was in
Yeah,
2000.
2000, like 10, 15 or something like that. Something. It's when David Cameron was in power.
But same-sex relationships, they legalized that back in the 1960s, along with abortion laws, along with
Yeah.
all of that came through the 1960s. And of course, you could see that it was all going to lead to things like same-sex marriage and all
But
of
I
that.
think look. So if you and I'm totally agreeing with you, because like you gave a very good overview as to what's happened. But there's like a beautiful caveat, I think, that was going to help us to really understand where the trauma comes against this like of God, which is the Enlightenment period does create this like an environment where this happens. But like the people who are killing kings in France and beheading nobles, they weren't necessarily doing it because the common folk were like intellectuals, right? It was happening because of like the tyranny and the economy and the suffering that the people were going through, that they had enough. And this is why we have civil wars everywhere. We have civil wars in England and we have civil wars in Holland and Germany and whatnot. And for a very long time, the French Revolution was kind of like people looking at it and being like, oh, the Germans looked at it and be like, this is great. The English looked at it like people like Edmund Burke, who was like, again, like a cornerstone of European history. He looked at disdain. What happens is that Christianity, or like the sway of Christianity, is still very strong, because even 100 years or 200 years later, you still have Nietzsche coming out and Feuerbach, these guys, they still come up and need to come and attack Christianity and kind of trying to kill it because it's too prevalent. Because Nietzsche is saying, I see Christianity everywhere. I see Christianity, but people are not authentic with it, right? That's one of his arguments that he's making once he's observing. I think the death of Christianity, or the death of religion, or the death of God, I should say, right? The belief in God happens after the Second World War II, right? This is really when like Europe changes drastically, and the people who were born in a war period, people who've gone through the war period, become the architects of the sexual revolution in the 60s. 20 years later, you have
so that would you touched on something that is so important. You know what? I had a radical, and as I swear I'll pull up the video and I'll show it to you. This was back in the, last year, and I remember saying to some Solution podcast friends of mine, and I remember saying, I've got a crazy theory.
Yeah,
I believe World War One, World War Two, was to usher in the what I call the second phase of the Enlightenment period. I believe, I think this is what you're basically talking about, because they became the architects of what transpired after World War II. And I believe that World War One, because the world changed after 1960s, and I believe that World War One and World War II, as crazy as this sounds, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, brother, but crazy as this sounds, I believe that it was done on purpose, in order to usher in the new, what people like to call the New World Order, but me, I just call it the second phase of the Enlightenment period. I
think it's a very interesting way to look at that, because like just sheer intellectualism and like attack, like they wouldn't have been able to kill Christianity in Europe, because Christianity was way too strong. The Nazis, there's like loads of documentations how Nazis were kind of cooperating with the help of the Catholics in Germany in particular, right? Like they had to have power, they had to have like religious legitimacy again, because religion was so deeply entrenched in the early 20s in Germany. Like Germany, like a lot of people don't know this because it's so far away, because obviously Germany was devastated by the war. But Germany has traditionally been a very, very Christian country, a very extremely Christian country. Like they've produced a lot of Christian intellectuals. They've, Christianity thrived there, developed, and spread elsewhere in the rest of Europe. And like, so there, you got something there, right? Like something happens in the 60s that changes the world. And this is what we're now experiencing. And people are like, hold on, this is too much. Like, this is not what we wanted, And I think that's what I meant by like, when you ask the very first question, you're like, okay, what do you think is going to happen? And I feel like what's going to happen is that you will see that this is a hope. This is always a hope. And I had this hope since 2016. I hope that people wake up and realize that there are powers out there who are abusing and using them for their own gains, and that the truth is with God. Now, the way you want to describe God and the way you want to interpret God, let's have a conversation about that. I'm open to have a conversation about that. But like, and I've said this before, and I got a flack for this when I said I would prefer people to be in church than being on the streets and robbing people.
Why did you get flack for that?
because it turned into like a theological debate. When I was merely making a social observation that cohesion in terms of living in the world, it would be better to have kids on a Sunday in church than robbing people. That's not rocket science, but it became about what you want them to go to church and worship the Trinity. I was like, well, I didn't say that. I said church is not just going and worship Trinity. Church gives you a social life, gives you like a family. I don't know. I mean, this is the level that the people that we deal with sometimes. And honestly, I don't
No,
know.
no, no. But that was, you have to you in a sense, I can see the because as a Muslim, you want the world to become Muslim. As a Christian, I want the world to become Christian. But I do, as a Christian, I can see the wisdom in what you're saying. I don't.
You don't have to be Christian to see the wisdom in a way. So,
do you agree? Do you agree with Dawood Hassan?
I agree with your concept.
Hold on. Let me rephrase the question.
Go ahead.
Would you rather see kids worshiping the Trinity in the church than robbing people?
That's a loaded question.
Because that's not what I was arguing either.
I know. I know what I'm doing. Because Hassan came in all strong, like this is anyone can see the wisdom in this. So
if he said that to me,
Dawood was confronted intellectually. Sorry, theologically, he was confronted theologically. He was he got flack for it. That's why I asked him. You got flack for it because I understand the nature of a religious person, because I'm religious myself. So theologically, I can see how those Muslims would have seen what he's saying as problematic, because they want these kids to be worshiping Allah, not worshiping the Trinity. Okay, yeah. So I can understand that. But you came with, I can see the wisdom in this. So yeah, I gave you the same question, but yeah, I added the theology in it.
Yeah.
To see it's a load of pizza now.
Yeah, you gave me the vegetarian piece and put bacon all over it. I'm like, oh, but yeah, safe.
And you couldn't answer. You couldn't answer. It wasn't so simple, was it?
We've had this exact same questions 3 or 4 months ago. It was the red pill discussions we were having, and you say the question was, would you rather have a society that had more red pill beliefs or Christian beliefs? I said I'd rather have more Christian beliefs, because in a Christian society it wouldn't be that dissimilar from a Muslim society. There would be modesty, humility, basic human rights would be basic human dignity would be preserved, so on and so on and so on, as opposed to where the society is leading to. You understood my point then, and I hope you don't turn, for the sake of humor, and make me like a champion for the Trinity, which I'm not, and Dawood is not making that argument. But it's very simple to see the wisdom behind what he's saying. But unfortunately, and I understand where Dawood's coming from, that it is becoming football teams in the sense that people see the most uncharitable perspective from a person's opinion or viewpoint. They give the most uncharitable perspective. So yeah, so it's a simple question to answer. So yeah,
the thing is, because eventually, I don't know, and let me just answer quickly, Aaron McKay's. When did first wave feminism start? It was early 1900s, but feminism started all the way in late 1800s. That's when it really started. And then you have the first wave. But then they started calling it first wave, but I don't believe in first wave, second wave. Feminism is feminism. It's an evil ideology through and through. There is no second wave, no third wave. It was evil from the very beginning, from its inception, and it is still evil now, because they carry on with the work, and their work is evil, period. I couldn't care less what anyone says about that. But yeah, what I was going to say is, because it's good that the thing you touched on, him getting flack for that, because eventually, yes, we do want, let's say every kid now goes to church, for example. The new challenge that will arise out of that, it will be, well, Allah is better than the Trinity, and the Trinity is better than Allah. That will be the new. Yes, we stop them from robbing. Yes, we stop them from doing criminal activities. They're becoming good boys. They're becoming better boys. Then the new challenge. Eventually, it's still a war on ideology. It's still, and when I say war on ideology, I'm not talking about violence here. Eventually, it will still be a an ideological battle, because eventually, even if we get all the boys to to start going church or and not doing what they're doing, what secularism leads them to, secular ideologies leads them to. If we can get the boys out of that and going to church, eventually the Muslims and the Christians are going to start looking at each other and saying, well, it's better that he's in the mosque. No, it's better that he's in the church. And if that's always going to be the case, do you understand?
But can I? And this might be very controversial, yeah. But like for me, I don't want the whole entire world to be Muslim. Okay, let me qualify what I mean by that.
Sorry, say that again.
I don't want the entire world to be Muslim. But let me qualify what I mean by that, right?
Whoa.
Now, do I want salvation for every single human being? Yes, I want salvation for every single human being. But the difference that we see in the world, that some people are Christian, some people are Hindu, some people are Buddhist, was intended that way. Allah has deliberately made this that way. Because there are verses in the Quran where Allah says, there are certain people that say, well, Allah, why didn't you just make us all Muslim from the beginning of time? Why did you just make the religion for everyone Muslim, like Islam? Why make all these differences? And Allah says, I did this, intended it so that there's testing trials in between. Like this makes it much more. There's more a profound reality that we're dealing here with, which is a reality that calls you back to humility, which is you're not judge and executioner. You're a witness like everyone else. We're witnessing what's happening here. We are bound to our subjectivity. We claim to worship objectivity. And at the end, we will see who was truthful. So that makes you way more authentic in your worship, because now it's not about, oh, let me show you. It's about, no, I need to show God with what I say about God and what I believe is actually true. Yeah. And salvation, according to our theology as well, salvation is not Islam is not the predication for salvation. What do I mean by this? Meaning that certain people who will live their life without Islam. Meaning Islam never came to them. Okay? Or the Islam that came to them, this is Ibn Taymiyyah, even if even the hardliners like Ibn Taymiyyah, someone who's a bit more on like, Ibn Taymiyyah is an excellent scholar, but like he's been co-opted by a lot of people. But like even someone like him, he would say that even someone so Islam or hearing Islam is based upon, did the person who revealed Islam to you, was he capable of revealing Islam to you in a way that you understood it? Did Islam come to you in a way that was positive, or did it come to you via Fox News? Okay, all of these things will be considered. So there are certain people where Islam never came to them, or Islam came to them in the wrong way, and guess what? There will be salvation for them at the end. Because this is the dynamism of the world. The world is so dynamic. It's not black and white. Like there is a reason why Allah has sent so many prophets in between, and this is why, for me, Islam makes so much sense, because I can look at Christianity and be like, of course this is from God. This, like, initially Jesus Christ, like this is why when I say this to people like Christians, sometimes I see the eyes open up. I'm like, yes, Jesus Christ is Logos. If you know what the meaning of Logos is, then yeah, Jesus Christ is Logos. So was Abraham. Abraham was Logos too. Like the mouthpiece of God, like the representation of God on earth, by spreading the word of God, of course. And yeah, so that's kind of my kind of philosophy behind it, and it's Quranic as well, so it's backed by the Quran.
Do you agree with that, Hassan?
I agree with the interpretation that it is not the believer's business to make the world Muslim, and that out of free will there are a variety of beliefs that will occur.
Yeah, that's why.
But hold on a second, guys. In Christianity, we're instructed to to preach
Yes.
the gospel to the four corners of the world.
Yeah.
That does not mean force people to believe in Christianity. That means we preach, we bring the truth to everyone, whether everyone will. It's a fact that not everyone's going to accept it. The Bible
Correct.
also teaches that.
We agree
Uh,
with you.
yeah. But the thing is, don't you have a similar understanding
To give dawah, yes, to preach,
in
yes,
Islam,
but
to
we
go around
have
the world and preach
to,
Islam?
yes, to promote the faith, yes, to plant seeds, yes, but it's not in our
Yes,
hands to make those seeds grow.
I agree.
Free will is always at hand, and there's a variety of variables associated in people's understanding of the belief, acceptance of the belief, rejection of the belief, and it's their free will. There
No,
is
no,
no
no. What?
compulsion in acceptance. To promote the faith and to spread the faith and preach the faith, yeah, that's
No,
encouraged.
no.
Yes,
What I found kind of in a sense I don't know, enlightening or I don't know, a bit slightly disturbing as well. Is salvation is when that would brought the term salvation, because in
Yeah.
Christianity it's there is no, you cannot be saved without Jesus Christ. It's like
sure.
it's very specific. It's very rigid on that. Salvation only comes through Christ. Now,
Yes,
it's not up to me to decide who is saved and who isn't, because I am not God. Only
yes,
God. That decision is for God and God alone. And any human being who tries to, you know what I mean, or tries to make that judgment,
yes,
they we would call that idolatry, because you're trying to put yourself in the position of God.
sure.
But we believe that when a person being saved is very specific. Who goes to heaven is very specific. That is through Jesus. Don't you have
Sure.
a similar? Don't you have a similar teaching in the Quran?
I have a very, very beautiful verse that I want to read to you, or I can share in the group chat, and then I don't know if you want to put up, but it's a very beautiful verse that
Yeah, go
explains.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just put it in the group chat here, and this is like this
Hassan,
is more
you know
like
what to do?
deeper. This is more deeper Quranic working here. This is stuff that like these are the verses that people like overread or don't pay attention to, or like this is the problem sometimes. But I put it in the group chat. Yeah. So the verse goes. It's in Surah 6, it's chapter 6, verse 108.
I put it on
Okay,
the share the screen. I've already put it out.
okay, nice.
Hold on a second.
Yeah. So it says, Bismillah, all believers, do not insult what they invoke besides Allah, or they will insult Allah spitefully out of ignorance. This is how we have made each of people's deeds appealing to them. Then to the Lord is their return, and He will inform them what they used to do. Like, this is crazy. Like, if you break down this verse, like it shatters a lot of people's like narratives because Allah is basically saying here, if I just give like a bit like a rundown because I've looked at this verse before. Allah is saying, look, first of all, don't go around and insult their God. So half of the stuff that people do at Speaker's Corner already there's a verse telling you not.
I was
to do
gonna say that it should be
Yeah.
it should be plastered at the
Yeah,
entrance.
half of what people do on Speaker's Corner already, the verse goes clearly against what they're doing, right?
Yeah,
So Allah says, don't insult their gods. Why? Because then they will turn around and start insulting God. And honestly, from my reading of what happened in Speaker's Corner, I believe that's what happened. I believe that the Muslims start doing it. They start mocking. Oh, how can you believe 1 + 1 is what? 3? That stuff, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I believe that's they on Hatun, mocking Hatun, da da da. I believe the new generation, that's what happened. That's my reading of it. They start mocking. And then when Christians start mocking back and other people start mocking back, they get all upset. How dare you insult my prophet? Bro, you were doing the Allah told you not to do that. Okay. Now, Allah says, don't insult them. Look what it says. Spitefully out of ignorance, right? It means like then they will be emotional about their response back. It's not going to be a rational thing. They're not going to look at Allah and be like, rationally think about it. Oh yeah, there's no. It's going to be emotional because beliefs are very dear to people, right? And why is it dear to people? Why is it made dear to people? Who makes it dear to the people? This is how we have made each people's deeds appealing to them. Okay? There's a bias. Allah is clearly saying, look, people are biased. You need to understand this. People are biased. towards what they do. And this is the way it is. There's tradition involved. There's what's it called? People fought for this. People died for this. Like it's not easy for a person to just like denounce what they believe in. So Allah says, look, we made this that way. This way biased towards it. So don't insult their gods. It's not going to help anything, right? And then says what? Because guess what? At the end of the day, you, the Christian, the Muslim, you all are going to return. You're going to all return back to us. And then what's going to happen? I will inform you which you used to defer, the things that you used to like argue about, okay? The things that you used to do, right? And there's other verses like this. And some of these verses, people say that, or they're abrogated, or da 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 da. Anyway, to me, this verse has really, really helped me to be balanced and be truthful, and not steep low to these like tribalistic understandings. Because we know when you deal with this the celestial, you deal with the angelic forces and the force of the divine. We are sinners, man. We're so humongous sinners as it is. Like, if I speak about God, or if I want to do God's work, that's the last place where I want to now start bringing my sinning into it as well. I want to be absolutely, be authentic. Authenticity is such an important thing.
Let me just answer. I want to comment on what you just said there, brother. Aaron McKay, my bro, is a staff a lot. This guy, he goes, what if the church was Unitarian? We consider Unitarians to be heretics. They are not Christians. But what if the church was that in relation to kids? I mean, I would rather see a kid in a Unitarian church than out there robbing and stealing and doing all sorts.
Okay.
The reason why
You'll see the wisdom in that statement then.
No, but the thing is, this brings me back to Muhammad Hijab when he came up with that line that made me. I was thinking, would you rather gay Muslim, or which one is better, gay Muslim or Christian? And then he said, a gay Muslim. A gay Muslim is much better than a Christian, and I found that very very interesting when he said that. But I understood where he was coming from. But if this is about, if this question here, what if the church was Unitarian? If that's in relation to the kids, I would rather them go to a Unitarian church, because there at least they will learn the Bible. At least they'll read the Bible. Hopefully they come to a different conclusion, but they will learn what is right and what is wrong, because the Bible does teach those things, whether you believe in the Trinity or you don't believe in the Trinity. But at least it will give you those values that are important. So I would rather that than them being criminals. We know it will never be that way. The Quran tells us you don't have to be a Muslim to go to heaven. Yeah, that we have a different theology on that, my brother. We believe that you have to believe in Christ, in the Trinity, in order to get to go to heaven. Mashallah. What does mashallah mean? What does that mean?
As God intended.
Sorry?
As God intended.
As God in. All right. Octavio, my brother, have you ever been gifted a Quran? Not from Hassan, no. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to learn about Islam. I am currently reading the Quran, is it Anfa? Al Anfa? Which one is that one? That surah? So I'm Al Anfa. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm there. So I'm currently reading the Quran. It goes about the kids. Yeah, absolutely, bro. I would rather the kids go somewhere where they learn good things. But what do you call it? Everything that you're saying, brother, in relation to what the Quranic verse that you put up. I mean, I think, and I mean, even in Christianity, you're not supposed to insult anyone's religion.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bible, for example, doesn't teach anything different. I don't understand how that's not clear to religious people or to people,
Yeah.
especially the people that go to Speaker's Corner.
Yeah.
You know, that verse there should inform Muslims of, you know what, it's, I mean, you shouldn't insult people. I mean, as a religious purpose, just imagine if we're talking about insulting a religion, forget insulting a religion for a second. If
Yeah.
you should insult
Yeah.
just a regular person,
Yeah.
if you shouldn't insult, why would you want to insult someone's religion?
Yeah.
But
Now,
do you know,
but I think Speaker's Corner is more of a debate, or it's more of a debate environment where we are trying to prove to each other whose religion is the
Yeah.
thing. And unfortunately, people get carried away and they get into their emotions, and then they result to insults. That happens anytime there's a debate of any kind. When people don't know how to defend their religion properly or are not as knowledgeable, they usually get into they get emotional, and then they start resorting to insults. And which goes against, look, as a Muslim, it would go even against your own religion to do that, because from what I've read there, the Quran explicitly says don't insult other people's religions. But yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
that verse is very, very easily forgotten in current times.
Yeah.
Especially in, I would say, in the UK community to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And in the West to a certain degree.
Why do you think that is?
Thank you for asking.
It's the place where it should matter the most, because that's where most interaction happens. Like,
True. It's because religion is just like the Christian community, or on Twitter from what I've seen, and on other platforms as well. Christianity is being used by the far right as a weapon and as an identifier, and in some cases as a tribal identity rather than actually being Christian. It's the same to a certain degree within the Muslim community. They're getting, obviously Muslims in the West are facing prejudice and racism and demonization and such. And so they go to the whole where Muslims is an identity. They pick up parts of it and they leave the other parts, because it's not really about the religion. It's about my tribe and my group, which doesn't do the individual justice, doesn't do the promoting the religion any justice as well. Especially in the UK, I've never seen a society that has tarnished the name of Islam to a certain degree more than the British Muslim community, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The West, the ones in the US, they've got their own issues as well. It's people, because we live in a modern era, a post-World War II era, where societies are melding and forming into one melting pot to a certain degree, and some are being burnt more than others. Like when you're cooking rice, some parts, if you put it for a bit too long and a bit too much pressure, certain parts get burnt. And I think that's what's happening. That's what's happening to people's tribal identity. What the identities that they had unchallenged for centuries are now being challenged just by the opposition of just by the presentation of an opposing view, an opposing belief system, and misrepresentation, lies, dishonesty, a desire to fit into a certain degree. You even see that recently on Twitter and unfortunately Speaker's Corner, a place like this, where you have anti-Semites and Muslims sort of being buddy.
Teaming up.
Yeah. And I look at this.
Are you talking about the Muslim guy that was teaming up with the far right guy? I'm
talking about a few.
Sorry. So the guy was anti. The far right guy was anti-Jew, and then
let me give you.
The Muslim guy was kind of siding with him.
I'll give you one. Dan Bilzerian. Right, the guy going on Piers Morgan saying Jews are this and Jews are that and da 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 and da 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 da, and then you see him on Twitter holding a Quran and people are like, oh, hopefully he'll convert. And I'm thinking, well, hold on. So if he hates Jews, therefore we like him more. That's not how the Quran works.
Ridiculous.
That's not how Islam works. It's never. We've been protectors of Jews for centuries. We've always, we're not haters of any particular religious group and such and so on and so on. So the idea that. And it's not because these people are living up to what the Quran encourages them to do. They're picking and choosing out of a desire to gain more legitimacy in the West as a way to don't hate me, hate them. They're the real bad guys. You know, it's so
Yeah,
it's
it's just like that typical like
weaselly.
yeah.
Weak. It's weak. Yeah, it's it lets down the legacy of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It infuriates me more than anything else because a person says anything about let's say Hamas, for example, right? Oh, Hamas did this or that. You get you're Islamophobe, you're this, you're that, blah blah. Blah. And then a person says, "I hate Jews. They're evil. They're the cause of all the." Oh yeah, yeah. No response. Not enough of a response. And I'm talking about people with large YouTube channels, influential, large Twitter followings, and things like this. I think, well, you scorn the one who hates Muslims and Islam, fair enough, but the one who hates Jews, well, if you didn't hear Myron's, getting the 1-2.
I really want Figure's reaction on this.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, but carry on. But you get my point.
Yeah. I would say at Dan Bilzerian, when I look at Dan Bilzerian, I have no issues with a person saying I don't like the Jews because of the Talmud or what the Talmud teaches. I respect that. I don't agree with Islam because of what it teaches. I respect that. I don't agree with Christianity because of what it teaches. I respect that. I don't judge a religion by people. If I'm critical of anything, I'm critical of always the ideology. Just like I'm critical of the new religion that both Christians, Muslims in the West, and Jews are being sucked into. There's a new religion. There's a new religion that exists. You see, I believe in criticizing ideology. I don't accept Islam because I don't agree with its ideology. And I'm sure it's the same for Muslims. I don't agree with the Christian ideology, so therefore, I don't have no feelings about that. I don't have no issues, and we can have a debate about why we disagree with each other's ideology. That's absolutely fine. A Muslim did something bad. Guess what? Christians also do bad things. These people also do. We all fall short of the standard that we believe in. We all fall short. None of us are perfect. But what I would say is there is a new religion that people are not considering. And this religion is called secularism. And my brother Hassan believes everything is crocodile shoes. I tell him no, it's a spiritual warfare. And it's a war for souls. And you will find that religion operates in the exact same way. It's a reality that we all gonna die. It's a reality that God exists. It's a reality that there's a heaven and hell, and hence why religions usually focus on your soul, where your soul is going to go, heaven or hell. Why? Because everything will eventually perish. All right, every human being will perish. So if eternity is either hell or heaven, that's where the reality is. So people shouldn't focus too much on gaining some kind of like power here on earth, when really and truly there will be a judgment day. Now there is a new religion is also fighting for souls, by fighting for souls to go to hell. A lot of people forget that yes, God revealed things, gave us a revelation so that our souls could go to heaven. Okay, he's fighting for our souls. He wants us to go to heaven. But there is another entity called the devil, and he's also fighting for your soul, but he's fighting for your soul to go to hell. And this religion is called secularism. Okay. Secularism, and it comes under many ideologies. They're all the same. They all preach the same. They all teach the same. And it's called secular humanism, feminism, Marxism. All these ideologies that came, the evolution theory. All of these ideologies are all part and parcel of the same message, of the same religion. They're all pretty much just one religion. We want to divide them and call them ideologies. I don't call them ideologies. I call them religions, because that's exactly what they are. And I believe that this is, we were talking about where is all this heading? Where is all this going? Yeah. This is where this is all going. I think secularism wants to secularize the Christian, the Muslim, the Jew, and wants them to follow their beliefs. So, for example, it wants them to believe that homosexual marriage is okay. It wants them to be okay with homosexual marriage. It wants them to be okay with abortion. It wants them to be okay with everything that they teach is good and right. They want us to, they want us to go clubbing and have sex outside of marriage. They want us to sin consistently.
Yeah.
So that's what this new religion preaches. That's what this new religion wants. And it doesn't just want it from the non-religious person. It wants it from the religious person as well. And this
Yeah.
is why I see a lot of Christians going astray, going astray, and I see a lot of Muslims going astray. They've got one foot inside the religion and the other foot in the outside world, and
Yeah.
that's basically what it is, because they're consistently being confronted by two different religions. One, their religion that they think is the truth, and the other one that tempts them to do evil.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. I agree. But yeah, I mean,
Okay, we're finishing soon. Yeah, we're finishing soon. I hear you, my
yeah.
brother. Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think where things are going, obviously, we've seen there has been a resistance, luckily, by the people against the very thing that you said there, right? Secularism. People have rejected it. A lot of people are going back to religion. A lot of people are going back to tradition, and because they're figuring out, well, the end of this tunnel is not going to be full of cherries and strawberries. It's going to be very dark. So they're realizing this. A lot of people, and everyone is kind of doing it in their own ways. There's particular trends online where you see people like, oh, I want to be a traditional wife again, or I don't want to go work anymore, or you have like man, or my masculinity is being challenged. I want to be a full man again, and I thought man better, like it. So this a lot of nostalgia is happening, and then there's other people who are like identifying with like who they are, and so people are yearning, and this goes back to what I was saying about the decade of substance, and really to like for us, for people like ourselves, to really start talking about this, to make people care about things that actually are substantial, and I think one 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 principle that comes under the decade of substance is to only speak about stuff that you know, because then you will be invested, and you will try to be as authentic as possible to represent what it is wherever you know, and you will make informed decisions. We need more people to speak about stuff that are actually, you can bite in and have a good taste of reality. So like to really make this a decade, because like I mean by decade of substance is we're 5 years in already. Like it's 2025 now. The 2020s were hijacked because of COVID and all these things, right? So we had a very rocky start into like the decade, but like I think what we're gonna start seeing now way more is that those shenanigans of like the right wing politicians, constantly blaming immigrants and blah blah, all that stuff is gonna fade away, and people are gonna really worry about things that matter, And I think that's like again, I'm a person. I agree. Like there has to be some regulation when it comes to immigration, but I think it's blown out of proportion. I don't think it's that bad. I think a lot of the problems in this country alone, if we want to talk about this briefly, is
What, what,
infrastructural.
what, what example would you give, Dawood, of things that really matter? For example,
Um,
because
okay,
I see a lot of people get lost in these political
yeah,
debates,
yeah,
and I think a lot of them use that as an excuse to not deal with
yeah,
the substantial issues
yeah,
that I think you might be talking about. But
yeah.
what examples would you give?
Well, I would say first of all, the first thing is like, well, get people to like first and foremost, get people to believe in something that is bigger than them, aka religion. Like make that cool again, right? Make that viable again. And then what religion? I'm very specific here, of course. I'm saying that let people have the belief that there is God, right? And God is watching us, and God is over us. And if that's for someone, if that's Christianity, then that's Christianity. Of course, I would love them to be Muslim, but if they can get that feeling, just that feeling of like God's watching me, or I'm doing this for God, I feel like we'll be in a better society. I feel like
Facts.
that's something that's very substantial. Another one is the economy. Like invest in people, innit? Like invest in people. There's money to be invested in. Like in this country, we've had austerity for such a long time. and it was ideological as well. It was never like because it proved anything to like improve life. It was just an ideological thing that they believed in Tories. But like invest in people, invest in infrastructure, invest in the people here. There's a lot of talented people here that I know in London alone, like that could really do something culturally speaking. And stop like scapegoating, bro. Like people on like boats, man. When you have like these billionaires flying in, having companies on island paying a zero penny to the economy. Like it's the easiest thing. Like I said this today on Twitter. I was like, yo, and I'm addressing here the WASP people, yeah. What white Anglo-Saxon, European, whatever, yeah, because they're the ones who always talk about this. I was like, you've been whining about this since the 1800s. You've been screaming. You first it was the Germans, right? You were all too many Germans are coming to America. Then it was the Irish, right? Then it was the Italians or the Jewish before, and then the Italians, right? And bro, throughout that time, you had like economic wonders that were happening. You had world wars that were happening in between. Like clearly, immigration didn't really, and this was mass immigration taking place as well. So like immigration always happens. Like sometimes more, sometimes less, but that's not the problem. The problem is not that. Let's focus on what really matters. Why do we have people who are exploiting these tropes, who are 100 million, like million times richer than you? Why
What,
is Elon
what,
Musk
what do you
telling
think? What do you think? Sorry, David. Why do you think that people don't focus on what they really matter? And I'm going to stop asking. I know we got to finish. But what do you think? What stops people from not focusing on what really matters? What do you think stops them from doing that?
because you want to have easy solutions to complex problems. You want to just know, look, why am I poorer? Well, the reason why you're poorer is because the two consecutive governments weren't investing enough. No one wants to say that. They're going to say, well, you're poorer because Ahmed is stealing your job. Sounds more, it's more immediate. You see Ahmed. You don't see those billions and billions like stashed up in the reserves. You don't see that, but you see Ahmed. It's easier. People want easy answers, and that's what these people politicians keep doing. They give people easy answers, and then when it does, it's like Trump. No, we're not gonna do it if you don't need it. Like now, he's realizing, oh freaking hell, we actually might need immigration. I'm sorry, guys. We can't actually do what I wanted to do. You see, it's like simplistic answers you're giving people when the problem governing is complex, man. I think that's the problem.
All right, guys, let's give our final thoughts. I wish we could continue this conversation forever. I'm happy to. I'm at work anyway. So, guys, final thoughts. Hassan, don't tell me you fell asleep. Really?
Oh, sorry, I left on mute. I didn't know. My
You
final
joke.
thought. Thank you for having me on the Daoud and Octavio show. But let me. If you put it on the screen, this is my final thought. It's just a clip of something that happened recently.
What you managed the way of not having to speak now. You don't like reading now. You don't like to speak.
No, it's just a little clip. So basically, it's on silent. But basically, this is a video clip of Tesla exploding outside of Trump Tower just recently, the last couple of hours. Yeah, 10 people dead, 35 injured.
No way.
Yeah. Right outside of Trump Tower. Look at that. Boom.
Is this what you were researching this whole time?
No. You're researching. So basically, this might be. I don't believe in omens, but it's a very visual, a perfect visual representation of what's going on. I think Elon Musk he's far too confident, and his ability to read people and influence them isn't as good as he thinks he is. He may be able to buy votes, but he can't buy. This has got a nice little split screen here. He doesn't have as much influence as he thinks he does, and I think this may be worse for him in the long run than it is anything else. Because if MAGA is sort of turning against him, these politicians will abandon him very quickly.
Yeah.
And these pundits and these critics are very committed, like Laura Loomer.
Yeah.
extremely committed to the point she
Yeah.
just does not stop.
Yeah.
No, she's got no. I don't want to talk bad mouth her, but she doesn't have any husband, doesn't have any kids. And as JD Vance said, these older cat ladies, these women with no kids and no husband, just with cats, have way much influence. It's the same. It's the same with the Republican Party. It's the same with MAGA.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there who really lack basic purpose and who will, be duped into just anything. So Elon, no matter how wealthy is, how influential he is, winning the popular vote and changing people's minds isn't as easy as it seems to be. Especially when you have Vivek on your side, somebody like Vivek, who's not as appealing as charismatic as he thinks he is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting things to come.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I would say, hold on, let me just send this. Just want to give a shout out to Aaron McCabe, because he's been part of the show the whole night. He's been showing love, contributing. Next time, join us, bro. Join us, man. I'll put the link up and you can just join us. I would say, look, I don't agree with the right wing or the left wing. I'm a Christian, and I think in the secular world, I think as a Christian, I want to see the world become more Christian. I want to see my society become more Christian, less secular. That's what I want to see as a Christian. Sorry, guys, can you hear me? What happened to the screen?
Yeah. It's a
As a Christian, so I understand, the need for Christians to be part of the to involve themselves in politics, because I think that's it's one of the avenues where we can change things. It's for politics. So and I think it's really that simple. We have to support the ideology that we want to see in the world. So if I believe that Christian values are good for society, then I have to support some kind of political party that supports that. Everything else is a distraction. It's just there to distract you, because I mean, whether it's Trump, whether it's whoever, I think it's. I don't agree with their values. I don't agree with liberal values. So why even get involved? And I would say to every Christian, join a Christian political party, vote for that, and then you will see the changes in society that I hope you believe is good for society. You'll see an end to homosexual marriage, for example. You'll see an end to a lot of BS that the liberals come up with. That's what you will see. So who am I more critical of? I'm more critical of the Christians who still want to vote for liberal parties. That's what I'm more critical of, because it tells me that they are in two minds. It's like I want to see more Christian values, but I don't want to vote to see these changes made in society. So so who do I blame the most? I blame the people the most, because because in a secular world you can make that change. You've got the option to do so, and I would imagine that Muslims have already thought about this as well. Gain political power in order to change the country into what they view is the right way. And Christians need to move in the exact same way, because guess what? We live in a country that allows for that. It's not a theocracy. It's supposed to be a democracy, so we can choose the government that we want to see. That's what I would say. That would be my final thoughts.
I think his connection is lost. I think.
Yeah, his connection is lost. Yeah. All right. Oh, that's a shame, man. I wanted Dawood to give his lost. Dawood, if you can hear us, if you want to come back quickly. If not, is he coming back, Hassan?
I have no idea. His phone might have to.
That's a shame. Much love, Aaron. Much love, man. But yeah, I blame the people, man. I blame the people. People are not voting for what they believe to be right. It's like I'm far right. I think we should be a Christian country, but I'm only but I'm only voting. I'm only agreeing with Christianity because I want to have some kind of vendetta or against, or I want to fight against Muslims. Or I'm, I'm racist towards Muslim or racist. It's like, come on, stop it.
It's always everybody just says they're Christian when the Muslim show up. It's like
Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
no, your intentions is you hate Muslims and you think you can use Christianity. Come on, stop it.
Yeah.
I can show you plenty of Bible of what Jesus said that will go against you. So I don't understand these people's agenda. But yeah, it doesn't look like my brother Dawood will come back.
All right.
That's a shame. That's a shame. All right, guys. Nothing but love, guys. Take care. Peace. Peace, Aaron, Dawood, Hassan, my bro.
Take it easy.
Peace to everyone.